Hey guys, today we're going to learn how to change out the brake hose on a 2004 Volvo S40. So get ready. You're going to need some brake fluid, perhaps some brake clean, and of course you're going to need the new brake hose, which comes with new gaskets or copper washers that the metal deforms and serves as a gasket for the banjo bolts. A 3/8 socket, a set of metric sockets, a set of metric big sockets for your lug nuts, a torque wrench, some sort of jack to set the car up with, and of course we like to use a jack stand as well. Curved needle nose pliers can be very helpful in removing a clip that holds the brake hose on. And you might just want to have a general purpose toolkit, but it never hurts to have a little bit extra on hand. Alright, let's start by diving under the car and lining up with that arrow that I just showed you and jacking the car up. Alright, 20mm deep socket. Alright, for those of you who don't know, this here is a brake rotor. There's your brake caliper. Inside is the brake pad. And then here we have a brake hose. And you can see all this wetness is actually brake fluid that has been spraying out of this hose. Oh yeah, and that's just right busted through. And for the record, if you change out one side, you need to change out the other side. Don't look at it and say, oh, it looks pretty good, and then go on your merry way. Change both of them out. With brakes, always change both of them out. Don't outsmart yourself. If you're doing left side, you always do the right side. Always. And that goes with the brake hose as well, as I have just gone and learned. Frankly, I'm done with this car. Man, two brake hoses going out on it, and not very fond of that. First thing that's in the way is this little clip right here. You just put your pliers on it and you pull. That is a ratty brake hose. 14mm metric. Well, of course it's metric. And you'll see brake fluid come out, but not to worry, because you bought a whole new thing of brake fluid. There's the old copper washer there. There's the bolt that I'm going to reuse. You can see it's got a hole. When you tighten this down, it's going to allow the fluid to pass through it. So in there's a hole, and that's where the brake fluid can go through and then into the caliper. That is where this hose is just torn through. You can see all the little fibers. It's no good. With all this schmoo everywhere, you might want to rubber up. Forgot to do that earlier, so we're going to go ahead and put some gloves on. Maybe it's known to the state of California that it causes cancer. We're not going to take any chances with that today. It's also easier to wipe the gloves off with than have stuff partially absorb into your skin and then try and wipe that off. If you get brake fluid on your rotors or on your pads, brake fluid is an oil, so you want to get that off of there so that the brakes can actually do their job. So try and avoid contaminating this with your finger oils or with the brake fluid. You can see that we have another one of these clips up here that's going to need to go. Once this is loosened up, then you can just remove them. This is the steel brake line coming from the car. Why is this rubber and this is steel? Well, this allows the car to bounce up and down the wheel right here and bounce with the suspension, and this needs to be rigid, or the whole thing could be rigid if the wheels didn't move, but the hose allows this to bounce up and down, but unfortunately it creates a weak point in the system where this kind of thing happens. 17mm wrench and a crescent wrench, because you don't have an 11mm open-ended wrench for some reason. So 17mm goes on this piece, and then we're gonna customize this to be 11mm because it's right in between 10 and 12, so it's got to be 11, and that's all that's required. Dusty. And just for funsies, you see how this is kind of how this works. You've got a chamfer here where this, when you screw it in to the other part of the fitting, it sucks this part of the fitting up against this chamfer here, so it makes contact and it creates the seal. The new brake line, the new hardware. I'm just screwing this bolt down into this fitting here, and once I get it finger tight, then I'm going to just put a little bit more gusto on it. Alright, good and snug. Just going to align this and push it back up in there. There it goes. You get this handy little piece again, and you just set her right there. Just like that. Using the appropriate tools. And then that doesn't go anywhere. Put this through. And then pull it up through. And it'll sit like that. And that's where we're going to put that other plate right in there. And then this goes down into its little fitting space. So let's find a way to do that so that this is the least kinked, because that's probably why they like to break so much on these stupid Volvos. By my observation, this is going to be the least amount of pressure. So we're going to take our banjo fitting, grab our two new washers. One goes on this side between the banjo fitting and the caliper, and then the other one goes on the other side between the banjo fitting and the bolt. So these sandwich the banjo fitting. So I'm going to put the first one inside. The caliper just going to sit there. Set my banjo fitting in. See if I can't get that through the hole. Alright, and everything's in. And see if we can't finger tighten it. Alright. And I'd say that's probably good for tightness. The hose through the little notch right there. And then we push it up into place. Got a little bit of wobble, not too much tension, not too much tension. Well, that's it, guys, we're done. No, we're actually not. We have to bleed the brake system because we put in a new hose, so that length of hose that we just installed has air in it. It's not completely filled with fluid. As you know, air is compressible and fluid is not for all intents and purposes. That's how your brake system works under hydraulic pressure. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to pump the brake pedal to get the brake fluid to pump through the hose, fill the hose, push all that remaining air that we might have let into the caliper, push that out of the caliper and get those bubbles out. What we want is a nice, good, solid brake feel, and until we get that, we're not done. This one here, this little guy, now you have to be very careful with these guys. It does not take a whole lot of torque to break them. I know this from experience. This is way too big. 10 millimeters too big. Appropriately sized open-ended wrench. Let's do that instead. Alright. Now as you can see, that didn't take a whole lot of stress, and this was about right there. That's all it takes. That was all it took to tighten that back up. So I'm just going to crack it. And we're going to pump the brakes. So we got a little bit of a spurt after a few pumps there, and then the pedal feel hardened up quite a bit, and it seems too easy, quite a bit too easy. But I'm not one to look a gift horse in the mouth, so I'm just gonna cinch this up by finger here. Alright, just tighten that up just a little bit more, and I'm gonna give it a couple more pumps. Alright, good solid pump pedal feel. Let's turn the car on and see what happens. Because as you know, cars nowadays have power brakes, so they utilize vacuum or an electronic motor. In this case it's a vacuum. And it gives you a little bit of assistance when you're using your brakes. So when we turn that on, it should make the pedal easier to depress, easier to compress or rather push the hydraulic fluid, and what we're going to feel is a soft, mushy pedal feel if there's any air left, because that air will compress. If there's not, we'll get that nice standard pedal feel. Tighten this down just a cinch. Alright, that's all it takes. Very easy to break those. Mushy. With the car running now, back that off. I'm just going to leave it finger tight. Maybe we're going to see some spraying. Got nothing on that, so we're going to back it off just a little bit more. You can see that was drawing a vacuum. Alright guys, so we got a pretty solid pedal feel. I'm going to put everything back on and take it for a spin around the block, see how she brakes. Torque to 81 foot-pounds. Alright guys, so that's how you change out your brake hose on a 2004 Volvo S40. Just want to take a moment to thank the sponsors of the channel. I know it's kind of a grab bag what I do. You know, we'll do guns one day, auto repair the next. Tell me what you guys like. That really helps to keep me inspired and keep me making content for this channel. Another thing you can do is, if you like what I do some collaborations with my friend Dustin over at Demo Outdoor Vlogs. You can check out his channel. There's going to be a link in the description. In addition to that, I'm now on Patreon. If you like what I do here in my artistic and philosophical and perhaps my hobbyist ways, feel free to help support me in these endeavors. Tell me what you want to see, tell me what kind of content you want on this channel, and you know, I'll see what I can do. I really appreciate you subscribing. Thanks for liking the video, and let's start a conversation in the comments here. You know, what do you want to see in the next video? Thanks again, and keep fighting the good fight. This is Will with Peace, Love, and Guns, and I just want to tell you that I love you, walk in peace, love your neighbor, and stay armed.